Hello and welcome to day 10 of our 12 days of Christmas patterns. We're so happy to have you guys here today. We have another exciting pattern to share with you, and that is our crochet whale ornament. I've always wanted to make an ornament for the tree that was a little whale, and so I made it happen, and I can't wait to share it with you guys. So let's go gather our supplies and we'll get started. So for our supplies today, I'm going to be using Baby Snuggle yarn. Again, it's my favorite. I'm going to be using the white for our color B yarn. That's going to be for the underside, the belly of the whale. And then I'm going to be using this blue color for the body and the fins. We're going to need 2 crochet hooks. I'm going to be using my 5.5 millimeter crochet hook from Crochet Society for the main part. And then I have this 3.75 millimeter crochet hook that I'm going to use for the fins. We're also going to need a darning needle, some scissors, a stitch marker, some ribbon to attach to our tree. We're going to need some safety eyes. These are just 10 millimeter safety eyes, and some fiber fill. So once we've gathered all of our supplies, we can get into it. All right, so to begin, we're going to start off with our color B yarn. For me, that's my white. And we are going to start off with a magic ring. Now, once we have our magic ring, we're going to place 8 single crochets within the ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we're just going to close that up. And there is round 1. Now we're going to grab our stitch marker. I personally just like to use a scrap strand of yarn. I just place it right in front of the very last stitch I did in round 1, and that will hold my place. So moving on to round 2, we're going to do an increase round for round 2, and an increase round is 2 single crochets in each stitch around. So we're going to go into this first stitch here, and we're going to make a single crochet, and then we're going to go right back into the exact same stitch and make another single crochet. So we've just put 2 single crochets in one stitch. You're going to do that all the way around, and your stitch count at the end of round 2 should be 16. So there's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. And that is round 2. Moving on to round 3, we're going to do a combination of single crochet in the first, increase in the second. So single crochet, and then an increase stitch. So 2 single crochets in one, and we're going to repeat that 8 times. So you should have 24 stitches at the end of round 3. Single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase, all the way around. All right, so after round 3, we are going to be moving on to a new color. So I've already put 1 single crochet in this stitch, and this is my second single crochet. Now before I finish it off like I normally would, I'm just going to put that yarn to the side, and I'm going to cut it. It actually ended up perfectly for me. That was the end of my ball anyways. And we're just going to grab our new color. And we're just going to grab it like this on our hook and pull it through to finish the very last single crochet of round 3. And now we have our new color on our hook. So now that we have our new color on, what we're going to do is we're going to do rounds 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So 7 rounds. We're going to do single crochet 24. So that means 1 single crochet in each stitch around for rows 4 through 10. Just like that. So I'm going to complete these rounds off camera and then I'll meet you back here for round 11. All right, so this is what we're looking like now, up to round 10 completed. Now before we move on, what we're going to do is we're going to place our eyes. So I'm just going to take my eyes here and I'm going to place them on rounds 7 and 8. And I want to make sure that our color change, where this little shelf is between colors, is on the back or the side. So I'm just going to turn mine over and I'm going to count up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I'm just going to place 1 like that. And then I'm just going to roughly place the other one. So I kind of roughly place them. We want them on round 7 and 8 with about 7 to 8 stitches in between. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I may just move this even over 1 more. Like that. So once I'm happy with the placement, I'm just going to put my backings on now. Here we go. And then I'm going to take my fiber fill and I'm just going to put my yarn ends in here. Now I did tie a little knot between my color changes, so make sure you do that so you don't get any of your rows unraveling. I just like to sweep my stuffing kind of out to the center. And then it doesn't have to be fully stuffed because we're going to do 2 more rounds, so you can stuff after each of those rounds and it will be easier just because they're going to be decreased rounds now, so the stuffing will stay a little bit better. So moving on to round 11, we're going to do a decrease round. So what a decrease is, I like to do invisible decrease. So what you do is you grab the front loop of the first stitch and then you're going to go grab the front loop of the next stitch. Yarn over, pull through those 2 loops, yarn over, pull through again. So that's 1 decrease. So we're going to do that 12 times. So our stitch count is 12 at the end of round 11. Go. Now our hole's a little bit smaller, so I'm going to add just a tiny bit more stuffing here. Like that. And then we're going to move on to the very last round, which is round 12, and we're going to do another round of full decreases. So we have 12 stitches in this round. So we're going to decrease every stitch, so we should have 6 at the end of round 12. All right, I'm just going to remove my stitch marker here. I'm going to cut my yarn. And I'm just going to place a slip stitch into the very next stitch here, pull through, and that will just create a little knot there. Now I know the hole is very small, but if you need to add any more stuffing, you should be able to get a finger in there to add that. And then once we're happy with that, we'll grab our smaller hook here, our 3.75 millimeter. And I'm just going to go under the top loop of each stitch around. We're just going to pull through, grab and pull through. And this is going to join our final round here and close that hole up. And then I'm just going to stick my hook in and go through, create a loop and pull that through to create a little knot. And then I'm just going to put this on my darning needle. And I'm just going to push it all the way through the bottom. Just like that. Take my scissors and cut my end here. And there is the body of our whale ornament. So once we have finished our body, we're going to work on the fins. So I'm going to take my 3.75 millimeter hook. I personally find it easier to use because we're going to be working into these stitches already crocheted. So I find it a little bit easier. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a slip knot. Now we're going to create our fins on the 4th row, so the first blue round here. And we're going to do it about 1 stitch away from the eye. So I'm going to put it right here. I'm just going to tighten this. And I'm just going to make a slip stitch. Now that I'm attached to the body, I'm going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip the first stitch, and then into the second stitch I'm going to place a single crochet, and into the third stitch a single crochet, and the 4th stitch from the hook as well. Just like that. Then I'm just going to go into this very next stitch here, and I'm going to slip stitch. I'm going to cut my yarn, pull that through, and there's our first fin. And then we'll just weave in our ends here. There we go. And there is our first fin. So now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Just going to do that. Slip stitch, chain 4, single crochet, go. And then again, we'll just weave in these ends. I'll just cut them. And there's our little front fins completed. All right, so once we have our front fins done, we're going to do our back fins. So first, what I like to do is I like to just count how many stitches I have between my two fins, because we want it to be centered right down the middle. So we're just gonna grab some fabric pins here. So here's our center. So about here, if you can, I'll use a different color so you guys can see it. So that's our center right there. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches. So it's going to be a little bit different, a little bit off, but that's okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the exact same thing that we did for our side fins, but we're going to do 2 right beside each other on the back. So you're going to be using 4 stitches. So you're going to want to pick which 4 stitches makes the most sense. So if we did, you know, these 2 and these 2, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's probably the most centered. So I'm just gonna, again, take my yarn, I'm gonna create a slip knot. And I'm gonna go into this first stitch that we marked. And I'm gonna place a slip stitch. Chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 3 single crochets down. And then I'm going to do a slip knot to the next. So we're like that. And then I'm just going to slip stitch to the next one, and I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 again with 3 single crochets. And then slip stitch into the next. I'm just going to cut my yarn, pull that through, and there's our little back fins completed. So I'm just going to cut my yarn here and weave in my ends. And there is our fins completed. All right, so once our fins are all completed, we're going to do the water spout. So we're going to take our white yarn, and again, we're going to make a slip stitch, or a slip knot, sorry. Now we want to make it in the very top. So I'm just going to place my hook right in the very top of that last round. And this is very similar to the fins. We're going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. But instead of doing single crochets, we're going to do slip stitches. So slip stitch into the first, into the second, into the third, and then we're going to place our slip stitch back into the body in the exact same stitch that we're in. And then we're going to do that again, 2, 3, 4, slip stitch, slip stitch, slip stitch, and then one more, one, 2, 3, 4, slip stitch into the first, the second, and the third. And then we're just going to place our yarn right back in again, create another slip stitch, and I'm just going to cut my yarn. I'm going to pull that through. And that should create your little spout of water that's coming out. So I'm just going to cut my yarn here, my yarn ends, and weave those in. This guy doesn't want to go in all the way. Go. And then just spread out your spout however you think it looks good. And then you have your water spout. Now the very last thing we're going to do is we're going to attach our ribbon. So I'm just going to take my ribbon and my darning needle, and I'm just going to put it right behind my spout. And then I just like to pull my ends so that they're the same length. And then all I'm going to do is tie a little knot. And like all the other ones, if you guys have watched the other ones, if you are selling these or gifting them, I would just put a little daub of hot glue here just to keep it in place. And then I'm just going to create a little bow. Just like that. And there is our whale crochet Christmas ornament. I hope you guys really enjoyed this pattern. Let us know in the comments down below. And don't forget, we have 2 more days to go. So come and join us tomorrow for our next pattern.